EMS, or electromuscle stimulation. I get a little excited every time I talk about it. It's like a wetsuit, which has electrodes on the inside. And those electrodes run tiny electrical current to achieve the same type of muscle activation, the same type of muscle contraction than you would achieve by yourself if you were to pick up a heavy weight at the gym.
And by the way, guys, when he said wetsuit, it's not even close to how difficult it is to putting on a wetsuit. It is like a wetsuit, but it's super easy to put on.
What I've noticed the most from SQAI, which by the way, guys, you can literally do this workout while sitting down, taking a meeting, okay, is my definition, the muscle separation.
Here you have an ability to contract the muscle without creating that wear and tear.
EMS is one of the most, if not the most efficient way to train.
Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Beyond Biohacking Brothers, where we explore everything about longevity, optimization, biohacking, and beyond. So I'm joined today, as usual, by my adopted brother, Carlos Bernardi. And today we have the privilege of having Alec Oliver, who is the founder and CEO of SQAI, spelled SQAI. This FDA-cleared at-home training system is designed to deliver elite-level fitness results in less time, all while eliminating the physical strain and injury risk of traditional workouts.
Wow.
So thank you again, Alec, for coming over and doing this in person with us. We truly appreciate it, man. This is going to be fun.
Do we have a lot to talk about today?
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yes.
No problem, man.
So let's start right away. What is EMF and how does it work? And before that, I'm so sorry. Actually, what made you come up with the term? Tell me a little bit about that story.
Sure. So maybe start with what EMS is,
Yes.
and then transition
Yes.
over. So EMS, or electromuscle stimulation. I get a little excited every time I talk about it because it's such a fascinating technology.
Let me bring this in right here.
Thank you.
You got
it. Every time you move a muscle, whether it's to pick up a coffee mug or to do a squat, your brain sends a tiny electrical signal down your spine through your central nervous system directly to your muscle, telling that muscle to contract. What we do with EMS, electrical muscle stimulation, is we replicate that process, but we do it in a really smart way. So what we've done with the SQAI suit, the SQAI EMS suit, is we have like a full body, it's like a wetsuit, which has electrodes on the inside. And those electrodes run tiny electrical current, like gentle impulses through your muscles to achieve the same type of muscle activation, the same type of muscle contraction than you would achieve by yourself if you were to pick up a heavy weight at the gym. So in doing so, we essentially bypass the brain because we send the electrical impulse directly into your muscle. And in bypassing the brain, we can do a lot of interesting things. We can increase the intensity. We can send the signal with a bigger length. We can make it stronger. We can amplify it. We can choose which muscle fibers we activate. So the sky's the limit, no pun intended, as far as how we access the muscles. And the beauty of it is that we don't need to pick up a weight. We do it without any weights, without any machines, without any bands. We do it in a way that's joint friendly, low impact, and really easy on the body. So in a way, EMS is one of the most, if not the most efficient way to train.
Hey, amen to that. And by the way, guys, when he said wetsuit, it's not even close to how difficult it is to putting on a wetsuit. It is like a wetsuit, but it's super easy to put on. All right. And that was really well explained. Thank you for that. Now, what is the science or research backing up electric muscle stimulation, or how long has the technology been around?
Yeah, the technology, believe it or not, legend has it the technology started with the ancient Egyptians, who discovered that certain types of fish, like electrical eels,
You're talking 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
many thousands of years ago, when you apply them to your skin, you can treat certain pain symptoms. So that's what they did, believe it or not. Now, fast forward to modern day, the modern story of EMS starts in the 1960s and the 1970s, where EMS was first used in the context of physiotherapy. So it was really used to rehab muscles that have been injured to make them healthy and strong again. At the time, you would just apply a couple of patches on a kind of locally on a single muscle, and you would really achieve a result that was unheard of until then. In fact, funny story, it was the Russians in the 1970s, the 1976 Montreal Olympics, the Russian Olympic team swept the board in terms of gold and silver medals, because they had the secret weapon of EMS on their side. They were the only ones who did that.
That's awesome.
In fact, you can actually look up an article from the New York Times from 1976 that kind of explains that. And tennis players coming from Russia, they just dominated. So, and one of the early pioneers of EMS in the US was, curiously enough, Bruce Lee. If you Google Bruce Lee EMS, you would find a bunch of sort of images with kind of him wearing this super primitive, strap across his chest. Yeah. And allegedly he said, well, it's like doing 1,000 push-ups in 10 minutes.
It's even in his
Wait,
movie.
but was he using electrodes?
He was using electrodes,
he was using electrodes.
It's just really kind of just a couple of straps like this in a cross with hooked up to a machine. No way. So that was the start of EMS.
I love that. Bruce Lee, it originates with Bruce, about 5,000 years ago, but with Bruce Lee, the actual technology, that's pretty cool.
That's right. That's right. Now, in modern times, the technology has evolved a lot. And in today, it's pretty much a given that elite athletes, especially in the professional tier, they are using EMS. Not all of them are advertising it necessarily, but they're all using it in one shape or another. Yeah. If you were to Google Ronaldo EMS or Usain Bolt EMS, you would see kind of images and videos of them using it. Now, the form factor has changed as well. Essentially, as I mentioned at the beginning, it was just a couple of patches, and it was really messy because you had to apply this gel and stick these things on you.
Yeah, I remember back in the days, the gel, and it had nowhere to strap it on.
That's
I
right.
remember as a 12-year-old, we had one. I would put it in my stomach, and it was like these little electrodes.
So you're one of the pioneers as well.
Yeah.
But at some point, someone said, well, why don't we improve the form factor? And they built this full body suit, which makes the application of these electrodes much more convenient. It's kind of just like, the Sky suit fits really snugly. So there's a full compression and kind of good conductivity with the pads. Mm-hmm. Now, the first suits up until a few years ago were still obviously they represented a big improvement in usability. But they were still, there was wires and cables hanging from them. You were literally hooked to a floor-standing machine with cables, and that machine had all these crazy knobs and buttons on it, and someone would control your intensities. So it was a big improvement, but it was still not very practical. So what happened over the last several years, really, is that this technology was miniaturized. The first wireless suit was introduced where you really have the entire electronics of the suit that just put in a tiny box that resides in a pocket in your belt, which gives you complete range of motion and freedom of movement. And what we've done with SQAI is we've taken things one step further, where instead of kind of going to a gym, which is the model that is prevalent.
99.9% of people go to the gym.
Pretty much.
Which is funny. Our clubhouse gym, January 1st, I walked in, I saw 90% of the room were faces I had never seen.
Yeah.
I'm like, give it 2 more weeks and they're going to start dropping off.
That's the January effect for you.
And now it's, there's maybe I see 2 faces, but it's funny. Every New Year's you see new faces at the gym.
That's right. So the EMS studio, which by the way is really widespread in Europe and in Latin America. In the United States, EMS was until recently classified as a medical device which required a doctor's supervision to be used. So it was really not the right environment, and kind of manufacturers didn't even want to come to the US at the time. This requirement fell away a few years ago, paving the way for companies like SQAI. But still, the model that you see prevalent today is you go to an EMS gym, you sort of put on the suit, then you have a trainer. The trainer tells you what to do. They walk you through the exercises. The trainer also controls your intensity. So she or he constantly asks you, how does this feel?
It's
do you
not
want more?
convenient. We've done
it's
it.
not very
yeah,
convenient.
yeah. And sometimes they electrify you, and it's like, no, back off. It's not fun.
Which, by the way, because I will talk about that system, it's very effective, and that's when we'll tell the story of how I met you and what I said to you when I saw your suit. But it was really effective. But the thing that was one of the things that kind of drew us back is, you have to have training because it could be dangerous. And
we'll talk certification.
We'll talk about some of the dangers of overstimulation with EMS. But also, it's hard for the trainer to really know what you're feeling and to adjust, especially when you're contracting, right? I mean, you could even fall over. So that's what made it a little complicated for us. And, it wasn't the kind of setup that we wanted at the office. And then we found you. So the older models, which are very effective, they're just not great in practical application.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That is exactly
and expensive. Right. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So, could you differentiate what's the difference between a regular conventional workout and EMF?
Sure. So EMS, right? Electrical muscle stimulation. I would categorize it in kind of several buckets. The first one is that with EMS, we can activate twice as many muscle fibers as traditional training. And sort of not to go into a kind of scientific rabbit hole here, but the physiology of how the human body works is that the mind does not allow your more than 40 to 50% of your muscle fibers to activate at any point of time.
Your contractual potential.
Exactly,
yeah.
And there's physiological reasons for that because your body doesn't want your muscles to tire too fast or
not
to
only that,
the
to
glycogen.
not rip your tendons or ligaments as well, because that's why you have the muscle, the Golgi muscle tendons, which there's a point where they kick on and you just cannot lift that weight.
Yeah, it's self-preservation.
Exactly.
Self-preservation of the cells.
Yep. Yeah. Except in moments of really high stress, in life or death situations.
Correct. Where you become superhuman strong.
Exactly. Right. Your mind unlocks the other 50%.
Right. But when a mother's son is under the car and they recruit 90% of their muscle fibers to lift that car up, and they're like, how did he do it? Well, that's exactly the divine power we have in ourselves.
Or if you have an attacker, like a big guy attacking a small, weaker opponent, but that weaker opponent musters up that strength and power and overpowers that. Yeah. Right. So, but that's the exception rather than the rule. Now with EMS, because we bypass the limitation.
At MHI, we recognize the importance of mental sharpness and managing stress. That's why we're thrilled to introduce NewCalm.
NewCalm offers an extraordinary system designed to naturally calm your body and your mind. By harnessing key principles in neuroscience and state-of-the-art technology, NewCalm uses electrical signals to send essential nutrients to your brain, providing a drug-free solution to effectively combat stress, improve sleep, enhance recovery, and mental performance.
Visit the MHI Recommend section on our website to discover more about NewCalm and get your exclusive discount code today. For now, stay healthy
and God bless.
Of your physiology.
Just so I make sure, because you touched about the percentages. So regular individuals can activate anywhere from 40 to 50% of these muscle fibers. Professional super athlete, Michael Jordan level athletes or LeBron James level can activate up to roughly 55.
50 to 60. And in fact, if you are just to go down this road a little bit more, if you look at bodybuilders who do set after set after set in the gym, why do they do that? Because at some point they will tire out the initial set of recruited muscle fibers, and which allows another 10 or 20% of the residual muscle fibers to be activated. So that's what they do. But that requires a lot of mind-body connection, a lot of time, and a lot of sets and reps.
I didn't get that, though. They do set after set because what?
Because after you've done a number of sets, you've exhausted the initial 50% of muscle fibers that were available.
So now
to
they're
you
going
in the
after the rest.
Yeah.
So
that's why they tell you. That's why that famous guy on he's famous on Instagram.
You're here.
Oh, sorry. See, he's famous on Instagram. He talks about like the real workout comes in your last few reps of the set, where he actually tells you max out, wait 15 seconds, and do an extra 2, 3, 4 sets, because that's when you recruit the most amount of hypertrophy.
Exactly.
Muscle fibers that cause the hypertrophy.
And by the way, that's an excellent way to get injured if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
But that's kind of skipping ahead.
Muscle failure, which that's when you usually run into situations when you're lifting weights.
Exactly.
And, and a lot of times we have to, and one of the things why SQAI is such an amazing solution is because we also have to overcome our ego, right?
Yeah.
When we get in the gym and it's like, oh, I can go one more, a little bit more, and that one is always the one that gets you injured and you're out of the gym for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You think that the entire gym is looking at you, but in reality, no one's looking.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. No one cares.
Nobody cares. Well, actually, now that we lift half the way, because we'll get into that.
Yeah, it's funny.
We do a different training that requires for us to lift 50% of what we can. So it's like, we're these big guys with 30-pound dumbbells, and we're shaking there, and they're that.
Which, by the way,
attracts them.
the reason why we love SQAI, and that's why we kind of incorporate, and we'll talk a little bit about incorporating. We're not saying get rid of the gym, but we merge them. Is the time under tension.
Yes.
Right, which is really, really important for definition, and it could cut your workouts in half.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll get a chance to
talk
about that as well. But just to kind of finish off on that point, because we're bypassing the brain when we send the electrical impulse directly into your muscle, we no longer have that limitation of 50% muscle fiber recruitment, and we can safely and efficiently activate up to 90% of the available muscle fibers, which is huge when you think about it.
Yeah.
So that's
it's
one
huge,
of the.
and I can tell you, I'm gonna talk about my personal results,
we'll get
which
there.
are amazing.
Love to get that. Yeah. So that's kind of one of the main points of differences between conventional training and EMS, but there's a lot more. There's we are doing a full body workout. All the muscles are firing at the same time. When you think about your standard gym routine, you go from station to station to station. You spend a few minutes each. You build in some rest time, and by the end of it, by the time you're done, you're 90 minutes or 2 hours into your workout.
It's not efficient.
Because you first have to do your biceps and the triceps and lat pull downs and squats and everything. So with EMS, we are activating your biceps while your triceps are firing. Your glutes, your abs are activated. Your glutes are firing.
Everything which is
fires
an impossibility to do physically, like in standard form.
Exactly. So when you combine these two phenomena in terms of twice as many muscle fibers activated, and everything fires at the same time, you get an extremely efficient workout that allows you to spend a 20-minute EMS session that's equivalent to a 2-hour workout. It's just beats your most intense 2-hour workout, hands down.
And it's impressive to say, because Carlos and I learned the hard way. We did it, which you'll get into the time, but it's 20 minutes. And we're like, we push ourselves almost to in the beginning it was 50% of what the thing could do. And I remember feeling after so sore. Immediately after that, I'm like, sore. I know I'm going to be sore for the next couple of days. And I'm talking about 5 days of soreness, something I had never experienced before.
Yeah, that's pretty
but very important to explain to people that the reason why you don't recruit that many muscle fibers, and we'll get into the timing, but why you don't want to do more than 20 minutes if you're not professionally trained, is because you will deplete your ATP in your body, which is the energy currency for our brains and our bodies. So if you are activating to that level, you're draining the ATP, and people can feel very fatigued after.
That's exactly right. ATP, glycogen, you deplete those stores really quickly. That's why 20 minutes is not only enough, it's all most people could handle. But if you could just indulge me for kind of just a quick nerd point, that with EMS, because it's such a precise technology that allows you to actually control which muscle fibers you activate. And that's really cool, because it allows you to gear the system towards your specific fitness goals. For example, if, as you guys know, there's two types of muscle fibers in the body, the fast twitch and the slow twitch.
Right.
The slow twitch being responsible for endurance, fast twitch, explosiveness, and speed. So if you're a long distance runner and you really care about the slow twitch muscle fiber, you want to kind of have the endurance, build endurance with your workouts. We literally push a button in the SQAI app and we activate those muscle fibers.
Yeah.
We have
like
access.
different frequencies depending
different-
on what you're trying to achieve, whether fast twitch or slow twitch. You can customize it to your training.
We can customize it based on
It's
your.
incredible.
Which, by the way,
goals.
just kind of a little parentheses here. Like, there's so many iterations and sort of like applications for the use of the suit. I mean, even if you don't have to be this fitness person, like you can literally put the suit on, which, by the way, it's amazing for women who have kids around the house. Like, you can literally put the suit on, go for a 20-minute walk with it, and it's equivalent to you doing a 10-mile walk. Right? Because of the stimulation, or a run because of the stimulation. I mean, you can literally be cleaning the house and get a full, quad, ham, and glute workout in 20 minutes in the house.
That's right. That's
incredible.
right. And depending on what mode you put it, again, you can activate different, you can achieve different goals. Like if you're a power lifter or if you're a sprinter, then you would want to put it on power or strength mode, and that would access your fast twitch muscle fibers, which, by the way, are notoriously difficult to activate. You need really heavy weights. You need fast, sudden, explosive movements, which again are the type of kind of movements that can get you hurt. So bottom line, EMS, because it requires no weights, because it's joint friendly and easy on the body, it's just one of the safest and most efficient ways to train.
For sure.
I would you saying that makes me realize that it makes a lot of sense that this is actually an insurance safety for when I'm actually training there, because as you know, we use 1 week the suit, 1 week traditional training. Since I'm recruiting 90% of these fibers, when I'm actually lifting weights, I'm reducing my chance of getting hurt because I have those fibers trained. You get me?
Yeah.
I'm because we start losing muscle depending on the individual and the training and how old you are, 2 weeks. So I'm not losing any muscle fibers when I'm training the traditional way. But you get me? I've recruited 90% of those fibers when I'm using the suit.
Yeah, you're strengthening muscle fibers that you usually cannot target or activate through
with your
traditional
brain.
training.
And that's
You
a
cannot
really
do
good point, that with EMS, you get access to muscles you sort of didn't know you had, or muscles that are really difficult to activate with traditional
and
training.
you will feel it the first time when you're sore.
And can I just because I want to touch upon this point, because I want to give people sort of like my personal. First of all, when I met you, we were at a conference and I saw the suit and I looked at you and I said, "Hey man, how does this compare to the famous brand that is out there, which is very expensive? It works for sure, and we loved it, but it was just not unattainable, but it was just ridiculously expensive. It required training, all this stuff, right?" And I said, "How does it compare?" And you said, "Well, it's the same, only that it's wireless and a lot cheaper." And I was like, "Oh man, can I try it?" And you said, "Well, they're not allowing us to display it." I said, "Do you want to sell the suit?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "If I try it on, and I've already tried this. If it works, I will buy 2 suits from you today." And sure enough, you said, "Okay." Sprayed me with the water, put it on. I said, "Hit me up." And dude, he hit me with the chest at like 30, and I was immediately sore. After 4 minutes, I'm like, "Okay, I'm taking 2."
I remember you breaking a little sweat in the matter of 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing."
And by the way, just for those of you that if you end up by the end of this getting a suit, when you get to the application, it can be a little overwhelming because there's a lot, especially there's guided trainings. I mean, as
the
we
mobile
told you,
app?
we're so trained as athletes that I knew right away how to play with the manual. But just to make sure, because you have like bodybuilder, strength, you have different ones, and they're all signaling different frequencies to work out the fibers differently, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's because there's some that you'll see 12 to 8, which is 12-second contraction, 8-second rest.
Yeah.
But the way the muscle fibers are being stimulated are different for each one. So feel free to try all of them out and see which ones you like. I'm always moving around between
And
strength bodybuilding, one bodybuilding.
I just want to
two.
give you some personal feedback for me because for a long time, like we don't condone bodybuilding, but there is something to learn from bodybuilders in terms of sculpting your body, right? So one of my favorite bodybuilders that I learned this from was Lee Labrada. And his whole concept, small dude, wasn't freakishly looking, beautiful, I mean, he had a beautiful physique. And his whole concept was muscle separation. Meaning that the way that you achieve the optical illusion of a lean physique is you have to separate the muscles. So you separate the bicep from the brachialis, from the tricep, from the shoulder, and that's how you get that pop, right? So I've always had this concept when I've trained, and that's why we do supersets and we do small group muscles with big muscle groups, et cetera, et cetera. So what I found really amazing about the SQAI suit is exactly that. Number one, you're bypassing the brain, so you're stimulating more muscle fibers. You're stimulating muscle fibers that you generally wouldn't be able to stimulate through regular training, or you would have to do excessive training, really long, really heavy weight, which, puts you at risk for injury, but also time, right? And then what I found with the SQAI, specifically my legs, which are always my hardest gainers for all of my life. They've been a hard gainer. Obviously, I have some injuries to my back, so I'm very careful about how much weight I put on the squat rack, which obviously compromises what I can get from the legs. But what I've noticed the most from SQAI, which by the way, guys, you can literally do this workout while sitting down taking a meeting, okay, is my definition, the muscle separation, the muscle fiber separation, which, basically displays as, cuts on your legs, the muscle separation, the muscle fiber separation, the definition on my legs has been outstanding. I mean, I look at my legs now and they're like, they belong on some other body because I can't even recognize them of how many definition and striations I have on my legs from using the SQAI. Just twice a week. Yeah. Literally.
I love it. And that's why we do what we do.